Still here?
Here's as good as anywhere.
Do you want to know what happened with Mundy?
That's what I'm paying you for, isn't it?
Is it? I'm starting to wonder.
Don't you like me, Luton?
What's not to like? You're a woman like any other.
Do you look down on all women, or just the ones you know?
I have plenty of distaste to go around. I want to talk to you about something important.
Really? I can't wait.
Not here. It's too public.
Your place or mine?
Yours is probably safer.
Let's go.
We barely spoke at all on the way over, and there was a certain tension between us. God's help me, I liked it.
Well, we're alone. What did you want to talk to me about?
You've got a lot of smooth moves, Carlotta. You've managed to string me along like a kitten.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about you lying to me, sister. I'm talking about the way you used me to track down Mundy, and how you were planning to cut me out of the action when I found him.
You're paranoid, Luton.
Oh, I know I'm paranoid. But just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean you're not a lying, thieving lowlife. Tell me about the golden sword.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I think you do. And so does Jasper Horst.
You spoke to Horst?
Yes, I spoke to Horst. And he seemed to think that I had possession of the sword. Apparently Mundy had it, only he died before he could deliver it. Horst thinks I killed him and took the sword.
I didn't want you to get involved, Luton. It was too dangerous.
Don't pull the hysterical woman act on me, Carlotta. It won't work.
All right, you got me. I used you. Everybody uses everyone, Luton. It's the way of things. Friendships are just what happens when you've used someone for so long, it becomes habitual.
You're a bitter little lady.
It's a bitter little world. What now?
You tell me everything.
Why?
Because you need me.
I don't need anyone.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But even you aren't totally independent, Carlotta. You need the Count's money, for one. One word from me and I could get you cut off.
He wouldn't dare. He's too bound by tradition.
Perhaps, but can you really afford to take that chance?
What's the deal, Luton?
Straight cut. I'll help you recover the sword. We split the profit.
You think you can trust me enough for that to work?
No, but this isn't about trust. It's about money. You don't trust me any more than you trust Horst. But I figure you'd work with him if it got you the money.
You're smart, Luton, but you've got one thing wrong.
What's that?
I trust you more than I trust Horst.
Oh, I'm touched. But I reckon you'd trust a rattlesnake before you'd trust Horst.
You're a good judge of character.
Hang around with scum long enough and you learn to tell the different types of scum apart. Horst is the treacherous kind.
What about me?
You're just a woman, Carlotta, and that's not a compliment.
Why do you hate women so much?
I hate everyone and everything. No one gets special treatment. Now tell me the real story between you and Mundy.
Mundy wasn't my lover. He was my contact. He was supposed to be bringing the artifact in from Sota. But something went wrong on the way. I don't know what it was, but Mundy never made his rendezvous. I went with Reagan to the wharf to meet him, but he wasn't there.
Do you know where Reagan is now?
No, he dropped me at the Temple of Small Gods, and that's the last I saw of him.
Did he know what was going on?
Reagan? Ha! No, I never told him anything. Everything I told him would have gone straight to the Count.
Anything else you haven't told me?
I'm sure there's plenty of things I haven't told you. The girl's got to have some secrets.
You're trouble, Carlotta.
Admit it, Luton. You like trouble.
What if I do?
I know what's going on inside of you, Luton. You're just like any other man, only a little more so.
When she kissed me, fire burned in my veins and I felt alive. Have you ever kissed someone who you didn't know whether to love or to hate? Well, other than your parents. Not that I'm prying into your private life, just trying to get my point across. Something changed in me at that point, and I knew I'd never be the same again.
I guess we have a deal then.
With my brains and your looks, we could go places.
What about with my brains and your looks?
We could still go places. They just wouldn't be as nice. You must have known something about the Milka's cargo.
Yes, I had a crate amongst the cargo. It wasn't carrying anything important. It was just for Mundi to hide the sword in if it became necessary.
But the sword wasn't in the crate.
No, the last I saw of the crate, Reagan had it. I don't know where it is now.
Do you have anything that might help me find it?
I have a shipping order. You can have it if it's useful to you.
It could be. Any lead is a good one at the moment. I'll see you around, Carlotta.
I hope so.
Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
I showed Reagan's picture to the first mate, and he recognized it.
Yes, I think that was the dwarf who pulled up in a carriage shortly after we docked. I think he collected some of the cargo, too.
Do you remember which way he went?
He drove away upwards at high speed. I wouldn't be surprised if he caused an accident somewhere down the line.
Well, safe voyage, if that's possible. There was something about the way the other members of the watch looked at me that let me know that no matter how innocent I was still stained with suspicion. Still, I'll take the stains of suspicion over the tarnish of guilt. Suspicion was easier to wash out. Sometimes I think I'd just give up and crawl inside a whiskey bottle. Except that you can only do that if you are less than 1 inch high. Doesn't look like I'm too welcome around here. Of course, I haven't been welcome here since I got kicked off the force, but at least then they just thought I was corrupt. Now they think I'm a murderer.
Nah, Luton, you've got it all wrong. They don't think you're a murderer. They think...
That my personal hygiene is appalling?
No.
That I have the Clatchian plague?
No.
Face it, they think I'm a murderer.
You know, give me a minute, I'll think of something.
Nobby, you've never thought of something printable in your entire life. Why should you start now? Did anyone report a speeding carriage 3 days ago?
Funny you should ask that. Sergeant Colon was almost run down by a carriage 3 days ago. He's been going on about it ever since. Says we ought to have speed limits for carriages.
How would you tell what speed a carriage was going?
Well, a watchman's instincts are never wrong.
You could always go for a more preventative approach.
Like what?
Well, you could ban carriages altogether.
Yeah, that'd work.
Hey, you could go one step further. You could ban people from Ankh-Morpork, and then there'd be no crime at all.
Well, there'd still be the trolls and the dwarfs, and the gargoyles, and the gnomes, and the undead and the golems. Of course, the golems don't make much crime, and the gargoyles' only crime is Avicide. And it's not like we're short of pigeons. But the trolls and the dwarfs, well, I mean, they make as much crime as any of the humans, maybe even more.
It's no fun when it's this easy. Like shooting fish at a barrel.
Hey?
Never mind. About this carriage the other night. Where did Colon see it?
I think he said it was headed for the Magdalen Bridge.
It wasn't much of a lead, but at least it was something. Usually you could only get a lead out of Nobby with a scalpel. Well, I'm sure I'll be back.
Yeah, right, Luton.
The wharf. Along the length of the wharf were hundreds of posts for mooring ships to. It seemed like a lot of bollards to me. If I pride myself on anything, it's that I don't steal without a good reason. Well, I don't steal rope without a good reason. When the Milka left, someone must have left one of the mooring lines behind. That was careless. Some people will steal anything. And that includes me, it seems. The Maudlin Bridge was one of 10 bridges that linked the city of Ankh to the city of Morpork. It was an unremarkable structure, most famous for the number of suicides it attracted. The trouble with trying to drown yourself in the Ankh is that you're more likely to break a leg falling onto the thick crust of the river than actually come near any water. Still, if you were heavy enough, you could eventually sink into the depths. I can think of nicer ways to go, though, and much quicker ones, too. I wasn't strong enough to bend the railings back into shape, and frankly, what would be the point? The railings had been damaged. There was no telling when they'd become damaged, though. It wasn't as if I came this way every day. I doubt many people did. Something had clearly lost control on the bridge. Something with wheels. Beyond that, it was difficult to say. The River Ankh. Probably the only river in the universe on which you could chalk the outline of a corpse. There was something down there. I was sure of it. But I wasn't strong enough to pull it up. Well, I'm back. Listen carefully, Malachite. I've been patient with you, and you owe me a favor. I need you to use the grapple to pull something out of the River Ankh. I don't know for sure what it is, but it's big. Too big for me to lift. But you could do it, and I figure you owe me one.
Find Therma!
All right, you big dumb troll. I'll carry on looking for Therma if you help me get this thing out of the river. Do we have a deal?
I pull thing. You find Therma.
Yes. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Or something. Whatever you want scratched, within reason.
Don't want scratching. Find Therma.
Okay. You pull thing, I find Therma. Got it?
Need grapple.
That may be the first intelligent thing you've said to me. I'd already had to dive onto the Ankh once. I wasn't about to do it again. Besides, the river seemed slightly more liquid here than at the wharf. Well, I use the term liquid loosely. If it wasn't for the fact that it moves faster than the surrounding land, I wouldn't know what to call it. Ready now?
You lead.
With pleasure. I hadn't been able to move whatever it was in the river. Malachite pulled it up onto the bridge like it was made of paper. I wasn't surprised to learn it was Reagan's carriage, but it still wasn't clear how it ended up going off the bridge. Amidst the wreckage, I found a small ornamental box. But before I could examine it in detail, Malachite took an interest. I didn't want to give it to him, but he looked like he'd rupture a fault line if I didn't. He kept insisting that the box proved that Therma was alive, or at least that's my best interpretation of what he was trying to say. With his usual annoying habit, Malachite just walked off, taking the box with him. That left me to get back to my usual habit of not really knowing what was going on. One thing had been bugging me since I'd found Reagan's body. In the iconograph that the Count had given me, Reagan was bald. Here, in the flesh, Reagan had a full head of hair. I had to pull hard on his toupee to get it off. Reagan must have glued it on to stop it from flying off as he drove the carriage. Underneath the toupee was a small key. I guess it must have been important, or he wouldn't have glued it to his head. I figured a really good private investigator could do a lot of painstaking research and work out which box belonged to Reagan. But I figured, hey, the guy's a dwarf. So I just tried all the lockers on the bottom row. It fitted into box 39 like a glove. Eventually. Inside was an envelope and a bracelet with carved wooden charms. The plot thickened, and you could already stand a spoon up in it.
I see Sir has returned.
Sir has.
Who would Sir like to see?
Is the Count receiving guests?
No, but he will see you.
I've got a few more questions for you, Count.
Yes, good questions. Go on.
I'm afraid I have some bad news for you.
It's Regin isn't it? He's dead.
I'm afraid so. I found his carriage near the Magdalen Bridge. It must have lost control and skidded into the river. Regan must have drowned, or suffocated. It's hard to say with a river like the Ankh.
Very well. Of course. I will pay you for your time. If you should hear anything else in connection with this case, please let me know. Otherwise, consider the case closed.
There is one thing. I think Regan may have been involved with a troll singer named Therma. I'm not really sure about the details. I'm sort of investigating the Therma case at the moment. But since I'm not getting paid for it, I may have to give it up.
Indeed. How would you feel if I were to pay you for the Therma case and you continued to investigate it?
I'd feel a little bit richer and a lot happier.
Very well. It's agreed.
Recognize this?
Yes, I do. It is Regan's charm bracelet. I gave it to him.
Is there something special about it?
It's been in the family for years. I'm not sure where it came from, but I believe that the charms were carved from the wood of the serendipitous redwood.
What?
They were very, very old trees, and they grew very tall. Up to a mile, if the texts can be believed. The trouble was they were very top-heavy, and the slightest wind would knock them over.
How did they grow so tall?
That was the thing, you see. They'd fall over, but they were unbelievably lucky. They'd prop themselves up against each other like a house of cards.
Lucky trees?
Oh, believe me, as a student of flora, I have seen many such strange things evolve. Strangeness is indigenous to the Discworld.
What happened to the redwoods?
Someone cut one down, and the rest came down like dominoes. They crushed the fellow with the axe, I believe.
I guess they weren't so lucky for him. I'll be back later.
I look forward to it.
The Temple of Small Gods was Ankh-Morpork's unique concession to all the thousands, perhaps millions, of small gods that the Discworld was home to. Most of the gods were so small they never got worshipped. The spirits of lonely trees, or the places where two ant trails crossed, and they stayed that way because they lacked belief. Give a god belief, one follower or 10,000, and it grows up from the void into whatever fanciful deity its followers devise. Everyone knows that people need gods to blame for everything that is wrong, or praise for everything that is right. But they forget that every god needs people, too. Inside the temple, a bazaar of fanatics, lunatics, and cultists of all descriptions were trying to sell their faith to prospective followers. 2 salvations for the price of 1. Extra indulgences if you get a friend to join. That sort of thing. The lost and the lonely came here seeking direction. I found it hard to picture Carlotta amongst their number. Who do you worship, then?
Why do you want to know? Who sent you? What do you want?
My name's Luton. I'm a private investigator.
You've been sent by the elucidated brethren of the Ebon Knight to silence me, haven't you? Their plots are so transparent. It won't work. I have protection.
There isn't an elucidated brethren of the Ebon Knight anymore. They were forcibly disbanded.
Disbanded?
By a dragon, as it happens.
That's what they want you to think. That was all faked, so that they could eliminate all their traitors and go underground. Even as we speak, they are plotting to control the patrician by putting mind-altering drugs in the palace's water supply.
Then it's true. I'd heard that you were the only other person who really knew what was going on.
What do you want?
I just want to learn from you. Only you can teach me what is really going on in Ankh-Morpork.
You don't fool me.
I don't?
You just want to steal all my knowledge and then use it to further your plans of glory.
Ah, but I know that you know that, and you know that I know that. Which means we're at a stalemate. And since you know more than me, you have the advantage in a stalemate, which means that ultimately you'll beat me.
Yes! Yes! I see. You plan to try and use me, don't you? Well, many have tried to use Malaclips, and I have beaten them all.
No, I can't hide anything from you, can I?
Very well. I will let you, for as long as it serves my purposes to do so. What did you wish to know?
Do you know a woman by the name of Carlotta von Uberwald? Have you seen her around the temple?
Oh, yes. I know her. She's part of one of the darkest conspiracies. And they're plotting to take over the world by stealing the lost treasures of Errata and turning them towards a dark purpose. Don't trust her, Luton. Trust no one.
You know about Mundy's murder?
Of course.
Was she here when he was killed?
Yes. Yes, she was.
Does this charm bracelet mean anything to you?
Well, well. It's a Gluckding carved out of serendipitous redwood from Uberwald, I guess.
What does it do?
It brings luck.
Good luck or bad luck?
Both. First, it brings good luck. Little snacks of felicitous circumstances. But sooner or later, the wielder pays for any good luck with a massive dose of bad luck. A giant omelette of doom delivered by a mad god.
Great. A mad god's omelet. Do you want it?
Are you insane? Give it to someone who's desperate.
I'll have to go. The truth is out there.
Trust no one.
You with the hat. Have you accepted Anu Anu into your heart?
The name isn't you with the hat, it's Luton. And no, I haven't accepted Anu Anu into my heart. Why should I?
For it is written in the book of Kelpie, he who has not the spirit of Anu Anu in his heart shall have his heart eaten by the Divine One on the day of judgment.
I'll take that chance.
Or you may mock, infidel, but the day of judgment is coming, mark my words. The signs are clear, the omens are unquestionable, the stars are right, and the auguries are undeniable.
What about the auspices?
The auspices are fair to light with a small chance of Judgment Day later in the eon.
I think you're taking the auspice. I asked Mooncalf if Carlotta was in the temple when Mundy was murdered. Frankly, he didn't seem very sure. His face took on a vacant look, like someone trying to remember who won the boat race in the year of the asthmatic antelope.
Yes. Yes, I believe I saw her in the temple that night.
Does she come here often?
She is indeed a regular of the Temple of Small Gods. I myself have lectured her at great length on the virtues of the cult of Anu Anu.
Why does she come here?
Why does anyone come here, Luton? For answers. For absolution. Perhaps simply out of boredom. But mostly for something to give her life a meaning.
What makes you think life has a meaning?
20 million zealots can't all be wrong.
There are 20 million members of your cult?
Not of this cult, but every religion is testament to the quest for meaning, even if our cult is the only true religion.
Don't you feel like you're just servicing a group of selfish, self-obsessed, half-wit deities whose ability to survive without you is considerably less than your ability to survive without them?
Watch your tongue, Luton. Talk like an atheist and you can expect a lightning bolt to strike you where you least expect.
I'll take my chances. Well, I'll be on my way.
I'll be here should you choose to repent. Did I tell you that we're giving away free tea towels to anyone who joins this week?
Behind Mooncalf was a beautiful stained glass window depicting Morphine, the angel of dreams, passing the recipe for the Discworld's first pizza to a mortal. I knew that someone had pushed the card under the door, and I knew what it meant. It meant that I should have fitted a letterbox.
Have arranged meeting with Therma on the rooftops at the junction of Sally Street and Phaedra Road. Come immediately.
Salis and Phaedra. There wasn't much around there. Nice and quiet. Well, I'm back. It's not been easy, but I've arranged a meeting with Therma.
Take me there. Take me to Therma.
In a moment. First, there's a couple of things we need to discuss.
Take me to Therma. Take me now.
Okay. Let's go. The rooftops above Salis and Phaedra were quiet. No one had a reason to be up here. I was looking forward to meeting the mysterious Therma, and I was hoping I might get some answers out of her. Unfortunately, the last thing I remembered was looking up at the moon. The next thing I knew, I was being arrested by the Watch. They told me Malachite was as dead as two sides of bacon, and I was the prime suspect. His back had been chipped away like he'd said something particularly insulting to a disgruntled quarry workman, and they seemed to think my crowbar was the murder weapon. I had the opportunity and a possible murder weapon. All they were missing was motive. And anyone who had ever tried to get an intelligent comment out of the troll had a motive to kill him. It looked like I'd been stitched up as nicely as a fine genuine tapestry. They took me to Pseudopolis Yard to be interrogated. They had a salamander lamp shining in my eyes, so I couldn't see what was going on, but I could hear Nobby and a troll talking in the darkness. It was probably Detritus, the first troll to join the Watch. Detritus was the troll many people in Ankh-Morpork thought of when they heard the word troll, bringing back as it does vague memories of sudden concussion and extreme pain. Sometimes you'd hear two short planks being described as thick as detritus. Your ideal street cop, in fact.
So I'm a good cop.
No, I'm the good cop. You're the bad cop.
Then, why don't I get to prod him a bit with my fists?
Because we're supposed to get information out of him, and it's hard to understand people talking through a mouthful of loose teeth.
I can smash lightly, more like a gentle caress, right?
No punching.
I can kick using minimal acceptable force. Like Mr. Vimes says. Lots of it.
No. No punching, no kicking. We just talk to him.
Talk?
Right, well, I'll talk. You shout.
All right, you done it. Own up now, we know it was you.
No, not yet.
Oh, all right.
I've just got to start the audiograph.
Right. All right, you done it now. You got to sing like one of them flappy twittery things.
Wait! I've got to start the recording properly, otherwise it doesn't count. Right. Interviewing suspect Luton. Present, Corporal Nobbs and Sergeant Detritus.
Now?
Now.
All right, you done it. You might as well make it easy on yourself. Everyone know it was you.
This is my interrogation, is it?
Don't you change the subject, you miserable excuse for our horse's donkey.
Just tell us what happened, Luton.
Here are the facts. Fact. Mundy was killed. You found at the murder scene.
I was unconscious.
How you knowing you was unconscious if you was unconscious, eh? Foiled you with logic. Now you listen to me good, and then we see who wears the long two-legged garments. Fact. Escaped thingy, Mount Malachite.
Thingy? You mean troll?
Nah, not escaped troll. Escaped,
Feline.
Escaped feline?
Yeah, he escaped from a holding cell.
Is it possible the word we're looking for here is felon?
That's the one.
What did he do?
Hey, we asked the questions, you miserable arugaraha. You know what arugaraha mean?
He knocked over the Van Uberwald mansion.
I never knocked over the von Uberwald mansion.
Now, that's what Malachite did.
So what does arugraha mean?
In the precise moment that dog droppings turn white.
I think you'd better get back to being the bad cop.
I am the good cop.
Now, I'm the good cop.
So that make me...
The bad cop.
So how come I not get to hit you then?
We can't beat him up, Detritus. That'd be police brutality.
It only brutality if you leave marks. What show? Escaped thingy, Mount Malachite. Was killed. And you was found at the murder scene there too.
Once again, I was unconscious.
Oh, how convenient for you. 2 murders and 2 unconsciousnesses. What about the murder weapon, eh? What about the crowbar?
Tell us where you got the crowbar, and I'll give you a smoke.
One of your dog ends? No, thanks.
I'll get you coffee. Maybe some cherry cake. New suit. You get to choose the colour.
I think you're taking this good cop role too seriously.
Thank you. Now my turn. You want to fall down the steps to the cell without leaving your chair? It's fine by me.
Look, I had a meeting with a troll named Therma on the rooftops of Salis and Phaedra. I'd arranged it on Malachite's behalf, and when we got there, I must have been knocked unconscious by the killer. I know it sounds improbable, but that's how it happened.
2 murders, and you happen to be unconscious at the scene of both.
You got to admit, Luton, it's a little far-fetched.
You want I should make up a defense? You want I should lie? This is the Lawyers' Guild all of a sudden?
Just tell us what you know.
I've told you all I know.
How come you know Malachite?
I'm not going to answer that. This isn't an interrogation, it's a farce.
No, it'd only be a farce if your trousers fall down. We're trying to help, Luton.
How? How is this going to help me?
Well, it might not help you, but it'll help us.
So my motivation would be...
Vimes?
Damn it, Nobby. He's not supposed to know I'm in the room. What do you want?
What does he have to gain from helping us?
Oh, just forget it. We'll just send him to the patrician for trial and get back to this damn serial killer case without Luton's help.
But first you fess up to what you done.
That's enough, Detritus.
Sir?
You can go.
I did it right?
Let's say you were everything I expected. Now go and write up the report. Not in crayon this time, please.
That should keep him busy for a few days.
He may be slow, but he's not an untrustworthy killer like you.
Why the personal interest in this case, Vimes? I'm sure you've got more important things to do now you're commander of the watch.
My reasons are my own.
You're not interested in my guilt or innocence. You're just out to nail me.
Frankly, Luton, I've got all the evidence of your guilt I need, and if I get my way, they'll lock you up and melt down the key for scrap iron. You're a bad cop, and I don't have any time for you.
If you're so convinced of my guilt, why the interrogation?
Nobby has this deranged idea that there might be some extenuating circumstances that we ought to find out about.
It'd make everything a lot easier if you'd confess, Luton. I'm sure you had a good reason to do what you did. Let us help you. Cigarette? Holiday for two in Quirm, sea-facing room, we pay the minibar bill.
I'm not guilty, and I'm not confessing to a crime I didn't commit.
Listen to me, Luton. We're conducting this interrogation because I believe in upholding the law.
There is no law in Ankh-Morpork.
True enough, but there's my law, and there's the patrician's law. Which would you rather face?
What's the difference?
Lord Veterinary considers it a happy state of affairs if the punishment can involve the actual perpetrator, but sees it as by no means essential. I consider it to be absolutely essential.
But you've already decided that I'm guilty.
That doesn't mean I've proved it.
And if I prove my innocence?
That's not going to happen.
Then what's the point of this farce?
Smoke?
No.
The thing is, Luton, we just want to find out what happened.
Do one decent thing in your life, Luton. Help us close this case.
Why should I?
So we can close this sorry little act and concentrate on the threat to the city.
The threat?
The counterweight killings.
Doesn't it make more sense that both Mundy and Malachite were killed by this so-called counterweight killer?
That's what you'd like us to believe, isn't it? You make the murders look like the counterweight killings and hope to get away with it.
That's it, isn't it? You're not interested in me. You want to catch the counterweight killer.
You're just a low-life killer, Luton. My job is to protect citizens from people like you.
What? You don't even like them much. You think they're all criminals.
Maybe. But murder leaves the place too messy.
Look, Luton, we don't think you're involved with the counterweight killings. But we have to know which ones are which if we're going to stop him from killing again. This is your chance to be a hero. To help us to catch a foreign assassin.
A hero? There's nothing I can do to save myself. Why should I care about the rest of the city?
You were a good man once, Luton. This could be your one shot at redemption.
I was never that good a shot.
You ought to know, Luton, that you're a suspect in the counterweight killings. That crowbar of yours was palace property, which means you had access to at least one of the murder sites.
You're getting desperate, aren't you?
We're wasting our time with you.
What about Reagan?
The dead dwarf? What about him?
Another murder in suspicious, almost ritualistic circumstances. He's a nobody, but it has all the hallmarks of a counterweight killing.
Are you confessing to the murder of Reagan?
No. I'm just saying that Mundy and Malachite aren't the only nobodies to get bumped off in mysterious circumstances.
There was nothing mysterious about Reagan's death.
People don't just drive carriages off a bridge for no reason.
He was driving recklessly across the city. It's probably just a suicide. Maybe he was just drunk.
Reagan was murdered. I'm sure of it.
You've got bigger problems than that right now, Luton. I suggest you concentrate on them.
Surely you have other suspects for the murders I'm accused of, even if you don't think they're part of the counterweight killings.
Smoke? A set of the complete plays of Whell the Dwarf bound in nearly real leather?
No, I don't want a smoke. I want to know who the other suspects are.
At the moment, you're top of our list.
Although you are the bottom of our list, too.
I am the list, aren't I?
Sorry.
Don't apologize, Nobby. Listen, Luton. There are other suspects for the counterweight killings, and we're investigating those. But for Mundy and the Troll, you're the bottom line.
What about Al-Khali?
Al-Khali?
One of Horst's cronies. I think he's been following me.
I guess I could interview him.
Why do I have a feeling that you won't?
Face it, Luton. You killed Mundy. You killed Malachite. And you tried to make it look like it was part of the counterweight killings.
Doesn't it make more sense that both Mundy and Malachite were killed by this so-called counterweight killer?
That's what you'd like us to believe, isn't it? You make the murders look like the counterweight killings and hope to get away with it.
That's it, isn't it? You're not interested in me. You want to catch the counterweight killer.
You're just a low-life killer, Luton. My job is to protect citizens from people like you.
What? You don't even like them much. You think they're all criminals.
Maybe. But murder leaves the place too messy.
Look, Luton, we don't think you're involved with the counterweight killings. But we have to know which ones are which if we're going to stop him from killing again. This is your chance to be a hero. To help us to catch a foreign assassin.
A hero? There's nothing I can do to save myself. Why should I care about the rest of the city?
You were a good man once, Luton. This could be your one shot at redemption.
I was never that good a shot.
You ought to know, Luton, that you're a suspect in the counterweight killings. That crowbar of yours was palace property, which means you had access to at least one of the murder sites.
You're getting desperate, aren't you?
We're wasting our time with you.
Will you explain to me why you're so confident that Mundy and Malachite weren't killed by whoever was responsible for the rest of the counterweight killings?
Everyone else has been sort of important. Mundy and the Troll were nobodies.
Quiet, Nobby.
You're crazy. You think you found a pattern and you're forcing everything else to fit it.
We're doing our job.
Nothing I say is going to convince you of my innocence, is it?
It doesn't look that way.
All right. Yes, I was in Mundy's room when he was killed, but I was unconscious. And yes, I was on the rooftops when Malachite was killed. Again, I was unconscious. I don't know what happened, but somebody knocked me out, and whoever they are, they're the one you should be looking for.
Fine. If that's the way you want it, that's the way you'll get it. Give my regards to Lord Veterinary when your trial comes up. I doubt he'll be as patient with you as I have. The fact is, mister, that with you behind bars, the city will be a slightly better place.
They delivered me into the hands of the palace guards, who delivered me into the walls of a holding cell. I had a bad feeling about the way things were going. Mostly people who were sent to the patrician for trial got seen right away. Rumor had it that being put in a holding cell pending trial was like being filed away in a drawer marked forgotten, and not a very big drawer at that. The wall to the cell had a nice dank feel to it. I expect it was Cell Wall of the Month in Home and Dungeon. Fast little fellow, he disappeared the moment I started moving. The rat had disappeared in a small crack in the wall. The question was, where had he gone? As I worked my fingers around the crack, it became clear that the crack was the side of a loose slab. The other side of the wall was another cell, but nothing like the holding cell. This was full of sketches and models, tools and materials. It looked more like a workshop, and there was someone working in it.
Would you like a cup of tea?
No, thanks.
Are you sure? Or are they not drinking tea outside anymore?
Outside?
The city. I take it you're from the city. How is it? Same as ever, I suppose.
You're Leonard de Quirm.
Yes, I am.
I'd found Leonard de Quirm. The man was almost a legend. There was no disputing that Leonard was a technological genius. But this meant he was as dangerous to the precarious stability of Ankh-Morpork as a compulsive smoker in a firework factory. Rumor had it that the patrician had locked him in a nice, airy cell for everyone's safety, because Leonard was the kind of guy who'd light any fuse for the innocent pleasure of seeing what kind of bang he could make. The only other thing I could recall was that although the guy was hot stuff with the nuts and bolts, he was definitely at the bottom of the class when it came to thinking up names. The patrician keeps you imprisoned here,
Sorry?
You're working for the patrician?
Not really. He calls from time to time and has a look at some of my sketches. Nice man. He keeps me abreast of events on the outside.
What's that you're working on?
This is my flapping wing flying device. I built a small prototype out of gutta-percha strips, twisted tightly together, and it worked. Although not very well. Now I'm building a full-scale model.
Does it fly?
Not yet. But once I've solved the problem of the weight of the holding it together frame and the mechanical faults with the spinning blades radiating from the central hub, it should do. I was having trouble getting enough force to twist the blades together, but the troll the other week sorted that out for me.
Troll?
Yes. He was staying in your room before you. He made this window for me so I could watch the bird. Always good for inspiration are the birds. Not that I don't have enough inspiration as it is. Damn things. Just once I'd like to wake up without finding my sheets covered in sketches of novel designs for apple peelers.
Did you give the troll some metal strips by any chance?
Yes. He made them into a metal hook with prongs, I believe. Not one of my designs.
His name was Malachite.
Was it? It's possible. I never was good with names.
Leonard of Quim was a renowned genius with the usual problem that geniuses have with relating to other people. He was clearly one of those people who started to look old around 30. And he wasn't exactly bald. It was more like his head had just grown up through his hair. The gaping hole had been created by Malachite to escape from the palace. Leonard liked to think of it as a window. At that moment, I thought I heard the sound of someone at the door to my cell. My heart leapt to my throat and narrowly missed my tonsils. I had to get back to my cell and fast.
Hello, Luton.
Nobby, what are you doing here?
I've come to let you go.
Does Vimes know you're here?
Yeah, he sent me.
What happened?
There's a witness to Malachite's murder. Saw the whole thing, although not very well. He couldn't identify the killer, but from the description we got from him, we can rule out you.
So, I'm off the hook?
More or less.
Vimes must be livid.
I've seen him happier, but he's still convinced you're involved in this somehow.
I dare say he has a point, actually. But I'm not a cold-blooded killer, whatever he may think. Who was the witness?
A gargoyle up on the roof of the clerk's office on Salis Street.
What did he see?
I'm not supposed to discuss that with you. Come on, let's get you out of here.
You won't get any arguments from me.
Right, here's your stuff.
Where's the crowbar?
We're keeping that as evidence.
Yeah, right. I'll see you around, Nobby. Thanks for coming to get me out. I appreciate it.
That's what friends are for, isn't it?
Friends are for getting you out of a holding cell?
Could be. I ain't got that many.
You won't get any argument from me. See you later. I had this feeling that I was caught in the middle of something big, but I still hadn't a clue what it was. All I could do was keep searching and hope that sooner or later I'd stumble upon the truth. Well, maybe not stumble, just very carefully put my foot on it and hope the other end didn't come up and hit me in the teeth. Are you the gargoyle that witnessed the troll's murder? Clark's Gable?
That's right.
I don't suppose you could talk a little more clearly.
Thing is, I have a gutter in my mouth. Have you ever tried to speak with a gutter in your mouth?
Have I ever tried to hick with a what?
A gutter. A gutter in your mouth.
Oh, with a gutter in my mouth.
Yes.
Sorry, I guess I haven't given much thought to the orally challenged.
That's okay. We're none of us perfect.
I heard you saw the murder that took place here the other night.
Sure did.
Mind if I ask you some questions about it?
Be my guest.
Can you tell me what you saw the other night?
When the troll was killed, eh?
Has anything else interesting happened recently?
Well, I got a pigeon yesterday. That's a rarity. Mostly they steer clear of the rooftops that are colonised by gargoyles.
Putting that to one side, what did you see the other night?
Well, I can only tell you what I told the watch. I saw you and the big troll come up the ladder, only once you were on the roof, it was hard to make out what was going on because of the shadows. But I saw the troll get savaged repeatedly by some kind of creature, some kind of beast.
A beast?
Yeah, that's the best description I can give you.
It's not much help, but thanks all the same.
What for?
For getting me out of jail.
No problem. Glad I could help. If you could toss the odd pigeon up here next time they're passing, I'd be grateful, yeah.
Do you mind if I come back if I have any more questions?
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm back.
Let's have a party.
I eventually persuaded the watchman to show me the ledger for the recent deliveries. The Milka had been carrying some wine barrels that were shipped to the Café Ankh and some crates under the name Varberg. According to the watchman, they were collected by the Guild of Archaeologists, Antiquarians, and Tomb Evacuators. I guess somewhere was the von Uberwald crate that went with the shipping order, but the watchman didn't know about it, and there was no sign of it in the warehouse. Ankh-Morpork was home to around 300 guilds, most of which festered in the space between Unseen University and the Patrician's Palace like fungus. From the Assassin's Guild to the Beggar's Guild, every one a proud group of individuals basking in their mutual arrogance. I hated them for their smugness. I hated their petty bickering. But most of all, I hated that I wasn't part of one. Hello? Open up.
All right, all right. Hold on. What do you want?
Can I come in?
Are you a member?
No.
Then no. This is members only.
I guess that's it for now, then.
Good. Don't hurry back.
Taking a break, Samael?
Oh, yes. It's not easy working the piano all night.
Well, I'm sure you deserve it.
Thank you, Mr. Luton.
You don't have to call me Mr. Samael. We're old friends.
Sure thing, Mr. Luton. Old friends. I reckon I've earned a right to call you Mister.
As long as that's what you want. Apparently, some of the cargo on the Milka was delivered here.
That's right. The Milka always brings us a supply of Ephebian wine.
Where is it now?
Most of it is still in the wine cellar. We sell some of it on.
Who to?
Lots of different people. I have a box of receipts in the cellar if you're interested.
Sure.
I'll give you the key.
I figured the golem wouldn't notice that the crowbar had gone missing. Not that I'm saying it didn't need it, just that I'd figured I'd get away with stealing it. Years ago, it would have been my dream to stand in the Café Ankh's wine cellar. So many barrels of fine wine. Even Chateau Hector, Year of the Weevil. My favorite vintage. I used to dream of Ilsa, too, from time to time. So when I walked in to find Ilsa there, I had to check I wasn't wearing my pajamas. Hello again, Ilsa. I can see I'm going to have to get used to finding you where I least expect. You didn't say goodbye at the casino. What happened to you?
We got away, thanks to you.
It was nothing.
It wasn't nothing. You saved our lives, Luton.
Lulu, is that you?
What's up with him?
He's delirious. He's been injured.
Let me have a look at his wound.
He'll be fine. He needs a chance to rest, that's all. He fades in and out a little, but he'll be okay.
What happened?
It was Remora. He's been following us. He won't quit.
He's an assassin. It's his job. Once they've been paid, the target is as good as dead. They never renege on a contract. They throw great soirees as well, and if they invite you, they won't take no for an answer.
That's not much comfort.
Well, at least you know if an assassin kills you, you're not going to be killed by some thug. They're very efficient at it. Practice makes perfect, you might say. I was going to be an assassin once.
What happened?
The usual. Forces outside my control.
It is you, from Casino. You save our life. We to be in your debt.
I guess you to be just that.
We need your help, Luton.
Haven't I done enough for you?
I know it's a lot to ask after what happened.
Women. It's never enough for you, is it?
Please, you have to find us somewhere safe to hide.
Why? Why should I do that for you? Why should I do anything for you?
Not for what happened, Luton. For what we had. Once.
We had a dream. Trouble is, I woke up and I could still remember it. I'm trying to track some of the cargo on the Milka. A set of crates that were supposed to belong to a Varberg.
That's me, Ilse Varberg.
You never told me your name was Varberg.
Names weren't that important to us back then, if you remember.
I guess not. So the crates are yours?
Mine and two conkers, yes. They should be at the Guild of Archaeologists by now.
What was in them?
Artifacts from the dig in Sorta. Nothing valuable except in the historical sense.
I need to get to them.
I can get you into the Guild if you want, but it'll cost you.
What do you want?
Find us somewhere safe to hide two conkers. He's not safe while Remora is looking for him.
That's true, but nowhere in the city is going to be safe.
You'll have to find somewhere that no one would even think of looking for him.
It'd take a miracle to conceal two conkers, and the patrician has outlawed miracles.
That's my price. If you hide two conkers, I'll sign you into the Guild. You'll never get in there without me.
I'll do what I can. That's all I can do.
That's all I ask.
If I find somewhere to hide him, you'll take me to the crates?
I'll get you into the Guild, but you're on your own after that. That's my offer. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'll be back.
We're not going anywhere.
Just like Samael had told me, there was a box of receipts in the cellar. I rooted carefully through the receipts, and the only recent purchaser was the patrician. It seems he'd bought a number of barrels of fine wine to take to the palace. I guess the golem I'd seen at the cafe was owned by Lord Veterinary. The patrician's palace. Useful though they are, an exit. someone was definitely following me. I liked the idea of hiding two conkers in the palace. It was somewhere that the assassins would never look, and Lord Vetinari would never think of looking right under his own nose. I hoped. Trouble was, I wanted somewhere inside that was safe, somewhere suitably hidden. They were keeping their distance, but I managed to briefly catch sight of the dwarf who was following me. Shouldn't you have stopped me by now?
What? What do you mean?
Well, I'm practically into the palace itself, and you haven't even asked who I am.
We can already tell you aren't important.
Not important? I might be a foreign spy.
Accent's too clean for that. I'd say you were born here in Ankh-Morpork.
How can you tell?
Accents. He knows them all.
Ah, hidden talents, eh?
We're guards. All our talents are hidden.
So, you're members of the illustrious palace guards, are you?
Illustrious? Do you know what it means to be a palace guard? We're arrow fodder. If anyone with half-decent skills breaks into the palace, you'll be picking our limbs out of the tapestries.
So why do you do it?
It beats being in the City Watch.
And the uniforms are much nicer, too. You used to be in the City Watch, didn't you?
You can tell that from my accent.
Would I lie to you?
Is it really that dangerous working for the palace?
Oh, yeah. Our lives could come to a bloody end at any moment.
He's lying, of course. He's always lying. No enemies have ever entered Ankh-Morpork since it was founded.
What about the dwarf attack in the reign of Veltric II? Or the barbarian invasion in the time of Webblethorpe the Unconscious?
Well, of course, technically, we've been invaded quite frequently. But, you know how it is. The guys arrive, they meet a nice local girl, and anyway, their leaders suddenly don't want all the big houses burned down because now they own them. And they find sleeping on real beds is a treat after all that time in the saddle. And what with one thing and another, it all ends peacefully.
In other words, you don't have much to do.
Well, there's a lot of standing around to do, but it's not like the golden age of the kings of Ankh.
The golden age?
Well, it was a time long enough ago that no one can remember how wretched it was.
So, you're an expert on accents.
Oh, yeah. I can tell all sorts of things about you.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
From the stress in your voice, I'd say you experienced a major emotional event about 8 years ago. You like to drink, but if you're not careful, you drink to excess. And you like whiskey.
That really is incredible. Anything else?
That's about it.
You didn't say which part of the city I was born in.
No. That's trickier.
You can tell that I drink whiskey from my accent, but you can't tell which part of the city I was born in.
Well, it comes and goes.
You don't know anything about accents, do you?
Of course he doesn't. He just has a good memory.
You were in the bucket a couple of years ago. You were probably too drunk to remember it.
A couple of years ago, I was too drunk to remember anything. So if you don't know anything about accents, how do you know I'm not a threat to the palace?
If you knew what it was we were guarding, you'd understand.
What is it you're guarding?
Every way into and out of the palace has to be guarded, and we guard one of those.
That's a little vague.
We guard the vital export of post-palatial merchandise.
We guard the trash heap.
That's what I said, wasn't it?
Where is it?
The trash heap? It's around the corner.
But don't steal anything. That's palace garbage. By royal appointment.
Well, by the patrician's appointment.
That's good enough for me.
Do you know a lot about the kings of Ankh?
Oh, sure. The whole history of the monarchy.
How come?
Oh, hanging around palaces. You pick up that kind of thing.
What happened to the kings of Ankh?
Well, the real line came to an end about 2,000 years ago. And after that, we got 17 centuries of a monarchy where the crown was available to anyone with enough soldiers and a strong stomach.
That couldn't have been very stable.
Stable? Ha! Not many lines survived more than 2 or 3 generations. Some of them didn't even make it to the end of the coronation feast.
The shortest reign on record was that of Loyola the Arg at 1.13 seconds.
Can't have been much of a monarch.
That's nothing. For a week, Ankh-Morpork was technically ruled by a wasp. And for several days, by the left foot of the high priest of Io, who dropped the crown on it during the crucial point of the ceremony.
The foot was one of the better rulers, apparently. Made good decisions.
See you around.
If you say so.
The palace walls were useful for keeping intruders out and keeping the roof in place. Looking closely, I could see the other side of the hole in the wall that I'd seen from inside Leonard's cell. It always looked much easier in the clickies. Right under the patrician's nose. It was just crazy enough to work. I doubled back. It I've done it. I've found somewhere to hide him.
Where?
Where no one would even think about looking. Somewhere that only the patrician and I know exists, I reckon.
The patrician and you? What if the patrician finds 2 conkers there?
2 conkers should be able to hide without too much difficulty. Besides, I have a feeling that if Lord Veterinary meets 2 conkers, he'll have a different take on this situation. He doesn't like to see useful people get killed. Besides, I am sure this is the only place in Ankh-Morpork that he'll be safe from Remora. Is it okay to move him?
He should be okay.
To be feeling much better in thankings.
Sure he's not still delirious?
Sometimes I wonder.
Let's go. Hello again, Leonard.
Hello. I'm afraid I had to go back to the drawing tablet with the spinning blades radiating from central hub. It was too heavy. The device flew all right, but only in a downward trajectory.
That is looking like some kind of fluttering machinery.
Yes, I call it a flapping wing flying device, but it isn't working yet.
May I take a look?
Be my guest.
Are you to be considering the increasings of the wingtitude?
The span of the wings? I considered it, but the weight is still the problem.
What if you be using bombastic wood for the frame?
It hadn't occurred to me that 2 conkers would have any practical skills. But I guess you didn't carry out complex excavations without learning a thing or 2 about engineering. I left him to get to know Leonard and hooked up with Ilsa. She had a deal to keep. With 2 conkers safely hidden away, Ilsa kept her word. She took me straight to the guild and signed me in as her personal guest. Excuse me, can you help me?
That depends on what you want.
I'm new here. I'm just trying to get a feel for the place.
Are you a member?
Not yet.
What's your name?
Luton.
Laredo Kronk. Pleased to meet you, I'm sure.
The pleasure is all mine.
Of course it is. So you're a guest, are you?
Is that a bad thing?
Only in so much as 8 out of 10 guests who confessed a preference stole something before disappearing.
I'm not going to steal anything, trust me.
No, I think you're wrong. You are going to steal something, but don't worry about it. Almost everything the Guild of Archaeologists owns is stolen, and frankly, they should expect people to steal from them.
Do you steal from them?
Golly, no! I never steal from any building less than 1,000 years old, and with really exciting puzzles.
So, what do you do for a living?
I'm a tomb evacuator.
And what does that involve?
It's a lot of fun. It means breaking into ancient buildings within which no man or woman has walked for thousands of years, apart from whoever it is who leaves all those medical kits, of course, and working my way through fiendish traps and puzzles, and eventually stealing some priceless treasure.
And do you sell the treasure?
Goodness, no! I'm far too well-bred for that. I bring it here, and have to watch as they slam it into a vault that nobody will look in.
A vault?
Forget I said that. Suffice it to say, the Guild of Archaeologists has a priceless collection of artifacts, but no one gets to see them.
Isn't that a waste?
Well, nobody said archaeology was rewarding.
Why do you do it then?
For the excitement, silly, and the fame. Everyone has heard of Laredo Kronk.
I hadn't.
Well, most people have. I was on the front cover of Archaeologists Monthly twice last year.
I don't read it.
Those long words can be so tiresome, can't they?
So, what does a tomb evacuator do?
Nothing special. I break into places where priceless antiquities have been locked away for centuries, overcome the elaborate and convoluted security systems, defeat my rivals, and make away with the treasure. Typical day's work, really.
So, you must be pretty rich then.
Oh, I've got absolutely pots of money. Anyway, the whole thing with the tombs and so on is just a hobby. And of course, it's great for making friends.
What? Among fiendish tomb-guarding monsters?
No, I kill all those. I meant people are always asking me things like, how do you get to the third ledge in the tomb of Tex-Mex cuisine? What's a walkthrough?
Never heard of it.
People are always asking me for one. I hope it's nothing to do with sex.
My mind just boggled. Sorry. Broken into anywhere interesting, have you?
Well, I knocked over the Grand Temple of Offla several times. Such sillies. Every time they get the Tear of Offla back, I take it. It's getting a bit boring recently. Then there's the Catacombs of Genua and the Temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali. I don't know, it's all a little routine. I'd like to do something new for a change.
Ever thought about retiring?
I'd love to, but the public seem to want me.
You mentioned vaults.
I told you to forget I mentioned that.
I take it all the treasure that people find is kept in vaults under the guild.
I shouldn't discuss that with you since you're only a guest.
Worried I'm going to steal something?
Worried? No. I'm certain you're going to steal something. I just don't care.
Why not?
I'm very philosophical about this sort of thing. It's like I said, everything in the guild is stolen. It seems only fitting that someone else should get to steal it back. Assuming they can overcome the traps, of course.
Do you know a troll by the name of Horst?
Jasper Horst. Yes, I know him. Horst and I go way back. And I don't mean that in a good way.
How do you know Horst?
You could say that he and I are rivals. We have this uncanny habit of turning up in the same place at the same time, looking for the same archaic treasure.
You sound bitter.
Well, I always win, of course. But that doesn't mean I don't resent his interference.
Must keep your life interesting, though.
Perhaps. I could stand a little less excitement in my life, though.
Thanks for your time.
No problem.